So, hey guys, welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. We are stoked to bring you another episode because today we got a good old special guest, Riley VanderKaay from Speculo.ai. Thank you for the hat, Riley.
You're welcome.
It's some nice swag you got there, dude.
It's a sought after thing. I've never understood why. Every time we go to an event or anything like that, people are trying to ask me for hats. I'm like, all right.
That was like the first thing that we mentioned when we hopped on the Zoom call with you. We're like, oh, dude, the hat. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. I got to get more of them.
I freaking love it. So, dude, thanks for driving down from Columbus.
Yeah.
We've already had tons of good conversation. Seems like we've talked a lot in the last 3 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Dude, tell us, let's just get started. Tell us your origin story. Where are you from? What got you started as an entrepreneur? When did you notice that you were just wired?
Yeah, dude. Let's just go right into it. I love it. I grew up in Dayton. The core of my whole experience, I always try to tell people, is I was kind of blessed at an early age to experience all what life was like at different economic levels very quickly at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
When I was from about born to about 10 years old, my dad owned a big advertising agency.
Oh, okay.
He was a member at Moraine Country Club, right? Like he was like part of it all, lived in the biggest house in the neighborhood, like had everything we wanted. I remember as a kid, he would drive all these crazy sports cars and like he was just a cool dude, right? Like had all this money, all this great experience. I have 4 older sisters. Like life was just great. Vacation every year, all that stuff. And I was too young to really like grasp it all, but I still have memories of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a sponge.
Yeah. And then, 0809 happens. And I actually wrote a paper about this in college where I didn't know this at a young age, but what had really happened was, 0809 happened and that sucked, obviously, for a lot of reasons,
100%.
for a lot of people.
Right.
That wasn't what really affected my family negatively. What happened was during that recession, the billionaires take advantage, and a gentleman named Rupert Murdoch came over from Australia. He's an Australian billionaire, came over and bought all of the news and radio channels, right, and distribution channels. And so that was what my dad's business was built off of, right?
Okay.
And he was one of basically the ancillaries that bring in all of those clients and sell them radio spots, TV spots, stuff like that.
Right.
And his business went from, multi-million-dollar figure business a year to nothing, like immediately, right? And so in the matter of a couple of years, we were on top of the world, and starting over from square one, had literally nothing.
Wow.
And so it was between 10 to 11 years old, I went from, like I said, having, kind of everything and anything, and everything just felt right, felt perfect, to being probably one of the breadwinners, if not the breadwinner of our family, going out and caddying, carrying golf bags twice a day, 7 days a week, putting food on the table, paying rent, all that stuff. Right.
Wow.
And so that was when it clicked for me of, I don't have an interest in building anything or putting time towards anything that somebody else can control the outcome of. And that, again, I didn't really understand that. But what I did understand was I got a front row seat to watch the emotions of like regret and stress and anger that somebody else can inflict on you by actions they take that are only for themselves. Like you can't get mad at somebody for going and taking advantage of an opportunity, but it's not going to be taking away my opportunity. So I got to watch that happen. I watched my family go through that. I watched my dad experience that. My mom experienced that. And I just decided that I was going to commit to nothing short of owning my experience and owning my future. So,
and I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So I think of this question immediately. During all that mess, what lessons did you find from that by watching your dad, or by grinding it out, carrying golf bags? Like, what was your biggest learning lesson that you took away that you still have today from that moment in time?
Commitment is the solution to every problem in life.
Oh, I could not agree.
So if you just commit, like a better way to put it, maybe a deeper way to put it is like your mind doesn't know the difference between what you believe is happening and what is actually happening. And so if you just commit to something, you don't really have a perspective of the failure. You don't really have like, I don't even think about things not working the way that I want them to. Like, it's not even something that I process. It's not, and honestly, I think I'm lucky. I think it's just wired in me that way. Like, I think whether it's my experiences or what, when you say that, it makes it sound like I'm trying to like sell this beautiful vision, like nothing ever affects me. Like, I always have my down days. Of course I get stressed as fuck, and things are harmful, and I get stressed and sad and frustrated. But that was my biggest lesson, was like, man, if you just like commitment is the solution to every possible negative outcome you could ever have. And if you just go all in all the time, 24/7 to your vision, the world will bring it to you.
One day you look up and it's like, oh wow,
Yeah.
you're
And
on
then
the
you
bright
buy-
side.
And you buy yourself that time where if you stay committed long enough to a vision that feels impossible or feels like it's not going to happen, all of a sudden the momentum shifts where it does happen. And then as long as you take advantage of the momentum and move fast and move with purpose inside of that window, you're going to be able to create something for yourself that is impenetrable, right? Like you will never fall off of the pedestal you create for yourself if you just stay committed and stay determined, create that window and take advantage of the window.
I do. And it's funny that you say that because I think that there's a difference between knowing about something and truly understanding it. And for me, like remaining consistent and like you were saying, committed, but consistency throughout the ups and the downs. I think that is one of the biggest lessons that I've been learning and honestly learning recently of just how much the payoff can be if you don't stop short or if you don't stop at all. Like never quitting in my eyes equates to you can't fail. So if you don't quit, you can't fail. And I think the game of entrepreneurship is ultimately just who can stay in the game the longest. And that is one of the big things that I've been coming to the realization of. And something that I've talked about lately too is kind of like the cycles of entrepreneurship. And this definitely isn't original. I'm regurgitating it from other people, but it really resonates with me. The cycles of first you have what's called uninformed optimism, and you see the people making the money, you see the people living the lifestyle that you want to live, and it's like, oh my goodness, like look at the opportunity, look what could happen. You start counting the commission checks or counting the hypothetical money that could be hitting your bank account, and you're like so amped up and let's go. But then you get into it and you experience informed pessimism. Now I know, like, this isn't nearly as easy as what I thought. I'm not getting the results that I thought that I would get on a quick enough time horizon. And I'm starting to get frustrated because I know about all the issues. And no matter what industry you get into, there's issues, there's hard things, there's complexities. And then you move into the valley of despair. And that's where a ton of entrepreneurs hit that brick wall and are like, I can't do this. I can't figure this out. And what they do is they see another opportunity and they see somebody else that is crushing it in a business, and they hop to the beginning of the cycle again. The uninformed optimism, and they start it again. But on the other side of the valley of despair is informed optimism. So now I know where the landmines are. I know where the hard things are, but I've came up with solutions, and now I'm starting to see results. And then, once you get through that achievement, you achieve the goals that you set out for. And I think that the summary of all of that is commitment.
Absolutely.
And consistency.
Yeah.
And that's something very long-winded, but something that I have not just known about, but really starting to understand for myself and in our journey for what we're doing, how that pays off.
Yeah. I think another frame of mind that I like to stay in constantly is, and I coined this term, probably somebody else said this, but for me, it just makes the most sense of just like plan for the best problem you can have. Like you're always going to have those problems. And you went through kind of those 4 stages. I don't remember every single one of them, but you went through those stages, and like, even from the jump, like it's hard as hell, man. Like everything you're doing is hard, and everything you're doing is challenging. And I even look at it from like a relationship standpoint, like my fiance, my relationship, even with my, it sounds stupid, but even my dog, like, all parts of life, like there's challenges and there's things that are going to happen. And if you just stay super committed, and then secondarily, just plan for the best problem, because you are going to have a problem. There's always going to be a challenge. And if you just plan for the best one, again, you don't really process the failure or the negativity. If you just don't plan for anything and you just roll with the punches, like you said, the uninformed optimism, right? Like you just roll for that shit. and you're not paying attention to it, and you're not watching and learning along the way and planning for the next challenge to overcome, the next lesson to learn, and just planning for that problem that you know is the best version of the problem you're going to experience, you're going to run into that valley of despair and not see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I also think attaching yourself to the light is also not necessarily the best way to go. Like, again, if you just stay consistent in one step, like my mentality is always just plan for the next best problem I can have. And if the next best problem I have is one that I know I can handle, or I'm okay with the negative outcome of because it's a damn good problem to have, that's fine with me, right? If I hire a new sales guy who's going to go, double our monthly MRR, but I end up losing him because he's really, really good and he probably needs to get paid more. Well, okay, that's a damn good problem to have. I just doubled my MRR. Now I have to go
100%.
solve a problem of revenue. I don't have to solve a problem of not taking action, or not solve a problem of not providing a solution to the problem that's in front of me. It's just taking those steps and finding the best possible problem you can have.
So I kind of want to jump back a little bit. How old were you when you were paying rent, helping pay bills for the family?
11, 12.
Are you serious?
Okay. So here's the question I have to piggyback off that. What's your relationship with pressure? What is that relationship like?
I would definitely be lying and making a fool of myself. I said I don't feel it. But I would say I just don't really listen to, like, I just don't really care about it, I guess. Like, I feel pressure a lot, but I like it. And, I just think it's part of the game. Like, it's just part of the price you pay.
Yeah.
You got to pay your dues, and
Totally.
you're going to be stressed, and you're going to have pressure, and people are going to be looking to you to solve problems. And, like, I always look at it as if, my mission, like what I want to do in life is what I did from the time all of this began for me, where I want to be the person that creates environments for other amazing people to safely build. And if it's something they're building with me, for me, or on their own, whatever, like, if I can just be the person that holds space and creates the companies, creates the organizations, creates the environments for other people to go build and grow, well, that's all I can ask for myself. Because if I just shoulder that pressure, everybody else goes and does the other shit.
Yeah.
Right. Like I enjoy pressure. I have a good relationship with pressure. And I think I grew up understanding what pressure looked like, not only for somebody my age doing the things I was doing, but also seeing what pressure looked like from the downfall, the uprise, the experiences that adults have. Like, when we were kids, we look at adults like they're invincible. We look at our parents like they've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
For sure.
All of a sudden we're in college and we're, starting to learn about what real life looks like. And, I read a quote the other day that was like, your parents only take you as far as they can go, or as far as your parents only take you as far as they went.
Yeah.
And so you kind of start to realize, like, my parents might have stopped growing when they were 27, and now I'm at that same stage, or maybe older, maybe younger, whatever. But, that experience when I was a kid with my family just taught me, like, what pressure looked like from multiple levels in different ways. And I just kind of started to realize, like, man, it's going to be there. It's like the plan for the good problem. Like, shit's going to be there.
Yeah.
You're going to feel pressure.
It's inevitable. And I think pressure's a privilege, and if you don't have pressure, it probably is an indicator that you're not doing anything worthwhile or anything that's this big. Like a sub question on pressure. As I hear it, I would almost define those things as external pressure. A lot of the pressure that I feel, and I can only speak for me personally, is internal pressure that I put on myself. And an example, you have a goal of, by 30 years old, I want to exit by, at X amount of dollars, right? That's something, like, those are the types of things that really make me feel the internal pressure of, like, oh my goodness, I need to get this done. Like, and that almost that high expectation that you have for yourself to continue to, like, level up and achieve and be the best. I hate to say it's, cliche, but truly be the best version of yourself. That is the pressure that, like, I feel like it never stops. So do you deal with that as well? And if so, like, what does that look like compared to, like, external pressure versus, like, the internal pressure that you put on yourself?
I think a good coping mechanism with that I have adopted is role play the outcome that you want
Mhm.
and be extremely, what I mean by role play the outcome you want is like, in my head, I've already achieved it. So in my mind, I feel, and I play the the B-roll in the back of my head constantly about how it feels to achieve the goal that I'm going for, and knowing that I'm going to get there, but simultaneously letting go of the process and the journey along the way of getting there. Like I'm very strict about what I want to achieve, but I'm also very flexible on how I get there.
Yeah.
And I stay in control of the thing that I can control, which is how I feel about where I want to go and who I want to become, and just knowing that I'm already that person. And that just allows
Your
me to
passion, your attitude,
yeah,
your
it just gets
mindset.
rid of a lot of the I have found, for me personally, my way of handling what you're describing is letting go of the feeling that you were describing of like, it's not that you're worried you're not going to get there. It's, I have to do all these things right now to get there. Like, it has to happen now. It has to happen now. I have to move. I have to move. Like, that's urgency, which is a great thing. Like, urgency is a very healthy feeling and you have to have it.
For sure.
But if you can simultaneously like accept the feeling of urgency, but let go of like what that manifests into your day to day.
Yeah.
Sometimes urgency is chilling the hell out and resting. Right? Sometimes urgency is moving 1,000,000 miles per hour and, having 12, 15-minute, Zoom calls every single day or whatever it is to try to, get your job done, whatever you're doing, or sell your product or work with your client or, whatever, buy your houses, flip your stuff, like whatever you're doing, like it just let go of I just let go of the manifestation of the process.
Yeah.
But I'm very strict on who I am, what I'm becoming, and what I want to achieve.
Gotcha. And when you say, because you mentioned you're like almost playing the B-roll in the back of your mind of like, it's not if it happens, like I'm playing it out as if it is happening and I have achieved it. So have you specifically like written down a vision of, because when we were talking to one of the guys at GoBundance, they had been mentioning like getting very specific and very granular about what you want your life to look like, and then literally write it down as if it is already existing. Is that something that you've done to like play that B-roll, or is it more so just like the thought process that's in your head?
I think that's great. And I know a lot of people that do that. I know it works really well. And I know who you're talking about from it. I'm a part of GoBundance. I think it's unbelievable. It's a great practice that they do.
Yeah.
For me, I'm more just attached to the feeling. Like for me, I really am super focused on the feeling, not the like, because I also don't, again, I think the 5-year letter concept, that's what you're talking about with GoBundance. It's called the 5-year letter. That 5-year letter concept is great, I think, for very specific like family goals or like who you want to be in, specific parts of your life, but
monetary goals.
Like creating an impact, creating wealth, like finding a role in life, like all that kind of stuff. Like for me personally, it's more the feeling. If I know I feel fulfilled and I feel achieved and I feel like I've accomplished my goal of creating that environment for other people to become, their best selves, and creating that, safe space for them to do that.
Yeah.
For me, that's a feeling, not a outcome that I can walk backwards of, what it looks like and speak it into existence. For me, it's just that I just hold that feeling really coarse. Like my process is every morning I just kind of go through, like, I just kind of chill and like I like to like putter in the morning. Like I don't do anything specifically, but I give myself like 30 minutes to just like no phone, no talking to anybody. I just, go on a walk, do whatever. And I just try to centralize the feeling that I'm looking for. Like I try to just like relax and be very intentional about the feeling of who I want, what I want to become and what I want to achieve and how that's going to make me feel. And then I just let go of everything else.
Interesting. So slow mornings are very important for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
And just creating that space where I can just kind of putter around and just attach the feeling. Sometimes I don't catch it, but like every day I have to catch that feeling. Like that's my only thing, is like every day I have to catch that feeling. And as soon as I catch it and I feel it, I'm good. And then I just roll through my day and I just execute. But like everybody has their morning rituals and things like that. For me, I don't have a ritual. I just have to, whether I'm traveling, wherever I'm going. Like just got back from a huge trip out in Miami for this big conference we were at. Like every morning I needed like 10, 15 minutes, just sit there, catch that feeling, and then move on. So like I don't, for the 5-year letter thing, like I see it, I see the value of it, but for me, it's just the feeling.
Yeah. So obviously now looking at it, like, exactly what that feeling is. obviously. Like you sit there and you're like, I know what it is and I have to feel it in order to get going. Like before, you were very like in touch with that and trying to define that feeling and figure out what that looked like. What was that process like? Because now, I mean, you can be 10 minutes and click into it and I'm like, I'm good to go. Like trying to establish that and almost define it, right? What was that like and how did you find or define that feeling from the beginning?
That's a great question. Like, honestly, that was a very prominent experience for me. I went from knowing how I didn't want to feel to figuring out how I did want to feel. So like experiencing and watching what my parents went through and what my family went through and that feeling of like regret and stress and anger and frustration. I knew I didn't want to feel like that. So I was kind of blindly running towards something else. And I didn't know the feeling, but I knew I didn't want to feel. And I was smart enough to be like, okay, cool. Well, if I don't want to feel like this, then I need to do this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
But probably, around college, I would say, like, is when I started to hone in and figure out, like, okay, I can't just run from something. I need to run towards something. I need to attach to something that's positive, not attach to something that's negative. Because that's, in my opinion, that's where burnout happens. It's like when you're attaching to a thing you're running away from or from a negativity, it still has control over you. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, it's letting go of that and focusing on the feeling. And honestly, it was just like, a lot of it was meeting my fiance. Like she's been a massive experience for me through like understanding what determination and commitment, importantly, what commitment looks like outside of my own things. Like, again, I was committed to not experiencing what I had seen my family go through, but I didn't understand the positive side of commitment. And she really helped me shift my perspective around commitment from running away to running towards.
How so?
I think she gave me something that was, she helped me understand what being committed to felt like. Like she was committed to me. So I understood what it felt like to have somebody committed to me. And in my head, I went, holy shit, like that's what it feels like to be committed towards something positive, not committed to stay away from something negative. So when I felt her commitment to me, it was kind of this like blossoming
feeling of grace.
Yeah, it was this like blossoming emotion of like, oh my gosh, like that is what it feels like. Like that's what my goals would feel like if I was committed to them. Like that's what that feeling is like.
Oh,
and so,
that's good.
When she gave me that, I was like, wow, I can stop running from something negative and start running towards something positive.
So almost just defined what that feeling was.
Exactly.
So now instead of like an inanimate, whatever it is,
inanimate,
an inanimate object, yeah. It's now like clearly defined, right? That's really cool.
Yeah,
and honestly, that's what a great like story.
Yeah, shout out to your fiance.
Yeah, dude, she's the best, man. Yeah, she's like, that's what it is, man. Just being committed. Like she was kind of the core for me to flip it from negative to positive.
Well, so I kind of want to get there as far as like your story goes. So going back to the tragedy that your family experienced, how did they recover? When did they recover? And kind of what did that look like as far as like timeline throughout your childhood and just kind of those experiences?
I think for a couple years, my dad got back up quickly and was rebuilding his own business. And I mean, he still runs a business that he and I kind of built up together over time. And he does a lot of that. He's got, my mom now works. Like it was, the experience was like a very drastic downturn that over, I would say probably 2 or 3 years was like a slow rebuild. We had help from family and, things like that, which was great. And then there's a lot of other, details and storylines of all those things. But ultimately I would say like it was a 2 to 3 year arc. And like, it's fun. Like, the classic at it, when it rains, it pours, shit like that. And so it's like when all the downturn happened, then just stupid stuff would happen and, things like that. But ultimately, I would say it was a couple of years of just grinding it out, just solving problems. And like, we had one of the things I always remember, like we moved a lot, like we moved a lot of different times. And like one very specific kind of funny story to me was like, we were in this house rebuilding it. We were doing like a lease to own kind of situation. And then the landlord of the house was like, hey, my daughter's going to buy this house. So you guys got to be out next week. And just like kicked us out.
Okay.
Wow.
And it's like stuff like it wasn't a financial, like it wasn't like a financial issue.
Right.
It was more of just like
No,
that
you
sucks.
actually just got screwed.
Yeah, like it's just like random stuff in life like that, and that's not a big deal in comparison to all the other things happening. But it's like those little tiny things were more of the things I remember, because my parents also were very like protective and tried to kind of like shield us, because I was the youngest of 4 older sisters, and most of my sisters are in college or like out of college, building families, doing their thing.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in the trenches with them for a majority of the experience, but I never really understood why. Right. And it's like that little experience of like, when that happened, I just thought, oh, we're moving. Like we're going to another cool spot. But it's like, then you realize like, that's just like, it's not a big deal, but it's just that it's everybody has that experience where like shit just like piles on top of you, you know,
just stacks.
It's just stuff like that, you know? So it's like those little tiny experiences that add up, and like just experiences over time. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does, definitely. And then so like, I guess tell me a little bit about like your high school and college career as well, and just kind of how that went for you and all that jazz.
High school was honestly, I played soccer in high school, but I
was really?
I was in and out as fast as I could be. I was not a school guy, not a school guy. I mean,
I wasn't either.
Yeah, high school I was, played soccer, did my thing in high school, got the Evans scholarship from Moraine, went to Miami, left Miami after my freshman year, went to OSU.
Go Bucks.
We've played against each other then and just never knew it. I played soccer at Miamisburg. So
probably.
Both in the G-Walk.
Yeah, dude. I mean, my only story from college is the only reason I even made it through college is because I cheated off my business partner in every class. So like his name's Kyle. He went to Centerville. And he's like this 7 foot tall redhead dude.
Yep.
And I always tell the story of like my sophomore year when I transferred to OSU, I was in that like Econ 101 class, like 500 people.
Yeah.
And, we're getting up to, and like, I was just like mortified. I'm like, dude, business school at like Farmer at OSU is just like, I mean, Fisher, excuse me, Farmer was Miami. I couldn't even get into I couldn't even get into Farmer at Miami. So that's part of the reason I transferred to OSU, and I got into Fisher, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm screwed. I was just not a school guy at all. And like Econ 101 class, it was like somebody was speaking Mandarin to me. Like I had no idea what was happening. And everybody's getting up to leave. I see this like 7 foot tall redhead dude stand up, and I'm like, there's only one of those in Ohio. I need to go up to him right now. I ran over. I'm like, dude, you're Kyle. And he was like, yep, I remember you too. And we just became best friends from there. And every time he would set his class schedule, he'd send it to me. I'd set my class schedule, and like, I mean, I would say I very firmly made it through college because of him. And then we started a business.
Were you a C-level student throughout high school and college?
Yeah.
All entrepreneurs, dude, they are all C-level, not all, but a majority of them are C-level students.
I just didn't see the point in any of it. Like
I don't either.
Just frustrating to me to like sit and listen to somebody.
I was fidgety. I'm like, my college was getting paid for. I'm at Sinclair, and I'm like, I haven't tried sitting front row. I just couldn't do it. I'm like, I was thinking of everything better I could have been doing with my time.
Yeah.
That's how I was. So you suffered through it, huh?
I just didn't like people telling me what to do. That was what pissed me off.
Dude,
I
relate to that to the core of
like I don't even get upset about like school or like I think a lot of people have this whole idea of like college is useless and all this stuff. Like I still think there's value in college for like specific trades. Like
100%.
No, for niches, yes, there is.
Yeah, but like my thing was like.
But if you're gonna go for communications,
dude, I took a marketing class, and like all the professors teaching me marketing never did marketing.
That's what we talk about all the time. Why am I learning about business?
I don't want to talk. I don't want you to be telling me what to do. It's like that was a really core experience for me. It was like, I'm not going to take advice from somebody that is not in a position that I want to be in, and I do not like. I don't know. It really drove me nuts.
Zach has said that 1,000 times.
Period. Because I mean, and I'm not going to go on the whole soapbox thing, but I genuinely I feel some type of way about the traditional education system.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, and I have my MBA, and I'm like, I just don't see the value that has come from it. And I think, and we already kind of hit on it. If you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be an engineer, if you're going to be a teacher, those specific things, I think that college is definitely valuable and applicable. And I also think to some degree, if you go to like a top 20, top 30 university, I think that could probably be worth it too, just because of the network that you're associated with from that perspective. But outside of that, in my opinion, I think I don't want to use the term scam, but I think to some degree it is not the most beneficial thing that you can do. And to your point, I literally think the same thing of, you mean to tell me that my business teacher, my marketing teacher, my fill in the blank is teaching me how to build a business and you went to school for education.
Yeah.
How are you've never built a business and you're trying to teach me. All you're doing is just teaching me what the book says.
Yeah.
Right. And that can get you to some degree. But if you find out, if you've ever taken any action, the majority of what you learn is from doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it doesn't 100% match up with what the
That's
book
a lot
says.
of stuff. Just throw the
Yeah.
book away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's, it doesn't, you're going to kind of figure it out on your own and create your own journey towards it. And it's like, I don't know. I just didn't really care a lot.
You know what I tell
Totally.
everybody where I went to school?
Hmm.
Marine Country Club University, baby.
Yeah, that is true. I
Like
would
learning
say I
from
learned-
those guys.
No,
Oh, yeah, I
seriously.
Are you kidding me? Carrying.
Right.
Let's talk about that. What value did Marine Country Club bring to you being in that environment from starting at age 11?
Yeah.
What value did that do? Bring?
I can't even put it into, I mean, you did it, so it's like you can't really even like put it into words. Like you have this extremely unique opportunity to spend 4 hours walking with some of the most successful people in your area, let alone, I mean, in the digital age we live in, and it's the whole world sometimes. I mean, we carried for the guy that owned the Yankees, dude that owned Under Armour, like, all those guys were
You
at Marine.
carried for them?
Yeah, I used to carry for those guys.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, and then other guy, I mean, like Lee Carpenter, I want to shout him. Like Lee Carpenter's been a mentor for me still.
Yeah, that's what you said. He's
his-
been a big
his-
mentor.
remember you saying
His
that.
organization is huge, or like the Haleys that own Gossiger. That's like a 9-figure revenue business. I mean, it's unbelievable what they do.
Mhm.
And I honestly, I can't put it into words. Like it was just to spend 4 hours uninterrupted with those guys out on a golf course, who all of which wanted to give back to us. And you could tell they always wanted to have a conversation. They always wanted to ask where you're from, what you were doing, what you're about. And at one point I learned very quickly that they wanted to answer questions. Like they were there to help. So when I was out there,
That's what people get twisted.
100%. And like when I was out there, that was I would say that's probably one of the biggest lessons was like, man, I took every ounce of that 4 hours I could get. There were probably some dudes that didn't even want me to carry their bag because I would grill them with questions about business and life and all this stuff. I would be like, how'd you get here? What'd you do? What's your biggest piece of advice? What industry are you in? How did you get into it? What would you sell it for? Like I would just grill these dudes with questions. And then I got to a point where I kind of had the same like 4 people I would caddy for.
Yeah.
And those 4 I built really tight relationships with, and just, I interned for the Haleys in college, and like I learned, Lee is still a mentor of mine. Like I just really tried to invest in the time I was spending with them. So if anything, it just taught me like take advantage of the time you have with certain people.
That's a
It teaches you network for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I have mentors from there, and just like being able to call people up, and they're so willing. That's what people get twisted. They think these guys aren't willing.
Mm-hmm.
Open
so,
up.
I mean,
No,
they're
yeah.
so willing.
No, it's they've all been through it. They understand the process. So,
and it was also, I would say the last piece that I loved more than anything was seeing guys that would show up to the golf course in Bentleys and shoot like 105. Like it was unbelievable to me that like people, like it just allowed me to, again, very early in life, humanize these people that otherwise felt like I was looking at like gods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you look at these people that are massively, and I think it's back to your point you said earlier about like you chase these people on the internet that create this facade. They're not creating a facade, but it just humanizes them. Like they're normal dudes. They come
put
out
their
on a
pants
Saturday
on like you do.
afternoon, yeah, to play a round of golf, and they suck, and they shoot 8 strokes on a normal hole, and it's like they're humans. Like they're just normal people, man. And like, breaking clubs over their knee and throwing shit and cussing, and it's like you just kind of realize like, man, like these people aren't like
these guys are normal. They're chill.
Yeah, it's like they're special because they choose to be special. They're not special because they just have something that we don't. It's just they're normal dudes that were successful in life and
went and did epic
stuff. Gonna watch them just be people. And that was my favorite part of caddying. I would do the best job I ever had. I'd do it again.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's paying you more in value.
That's paying me more dividends than anything else I've ever done.
100%.
I'm sure. So, Speculo. I would love to get into the details of what you got going on, because I mean that is wildly fascinating. But was Speculo your first business that you've started, or did you have previous businesses before you landed on this?
I mean, if I did, it was like classic, like lemonade stand type shit.
Well, you
like,
said you started something with your dad, right?
Okay.
Yeah, my dad. So my dad, buy golf for half.
What?
That's my dad. Yeah, I think I've told you about that. If
you have told me about it. Yes.
So, anyways, what my my dad like
Yeah.
started
Okay,
this,
I remember it now.
yeah, like my dad started this thing called Buy Golf for Half, and he and I went out and just would like sell golf courses, and just basically the concept of Buy Golf for Half was we go to a golf course, it's a public course that has a certain number of tee times left over every day that weren't used. Right. So like if you have, I don't remember exactly, 52, weeks in a year, most people golfing on the weekends, most of the time, every day, golf courses have like a dozen or so tee times that go unused. So what we would do is we'd go in there and say, hey, give me your tee times. We're going to sell them for half price on the website. We take a percent, you take a percent, and you make a little bit of money on an unused tee time. Right. It was that easy.
Yeah, I remember.
It
you
was my
talking about that.
dad's thing. Like it wasn't,
That's
when
smart.
he and I like grew it together. It was my first experience in like being a part of a startup, right?
Mhm.
So, to be clear, I didn't start it with him, but I mean,
Yeah.
I was like,
You were there.
Right,
I
but
was
you were
right
the
there
beginning
with him,
stages.
right?
there.
Yeah, like I was there with him. And so Speculo was the first company I started on my own with
Okay.
Kyle, and I started that right before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was, yes, but I like bartended in college, did the,
So you
caddy,
started
like,
it when you were 21?
sold shit on the side, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like I worked at companies where I'd make full
Okay.
commission sales, stuff like
Yeah.
just stuff like that.
But like legit business.
like a
legit business.
legitimate,
Yeah.
real business that is successful and has employees and is a real thing.
Yeah.
This was Speculo was my first one.
So give us the origin story of Speculo.ai.
So we we actually started as the Speculo Group, which was a traditional, marketing ad agency.
Mhm.
And the original version of it was in the middle of COVID. When COVID started, Kyle and I just said, fuck it, the whole world's going to shit. We're just going to go start our own company. Like this is the best time to do it, right?
Yeah,
Like
why
who
not?
cares?
Why not?
No one was hiring. We were just like, well, who cares? So he had a full-time job in New York and he quit. And I had an opportunity from an internship I did and I didn't take it. And we just were like, let's go start our company. And the concept in the beginning was kind of a rip-off and duplicate of Buy Golf for Half, where it was
Mhm.
more of a like, we would go into the local businesses, local service or local product businesses, and we would try to help fill slots that they weren't already using. And it was more of a rev share type of program. It wasn't like a you
Yeah.
pay me a retainer and I
Right.
do this for you. It was more of like a you give me all your unused stuff and I'm gonna go try to sell it. I'll take some, you take some, because nobody was making any money with COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a little bit. Actually, we're fairly successful in the early stages, but we stopped doing that after we got a referral for an insurance agency where we did go to the retainer model. Got more referrals to more insurance agencies, started to see the value of the retainer business model instead of the kind of the rev share business model. went away from the rev share, went into retainer, got, a few dozen clients. Again, Kyle and I were like,
Tinnerman?
what's that? Yeah.
Great
yeah,
Tinnerman.
there you
Oh,
go.
yeah.
They were one of
There
them.
you go.
They were one of them. And so we in the early stages, I mean, we were like working on top of each other in our apartment, making like $13,000 a year, like classic.
That's how it is,
entrepreneurial
man.
journey,
Yep.
right?
Totally.
Like
Classic story.
Everybody knows that shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what really changed for us was when we got one of the clients we had that was an insurance agent. His wife was a real estate agent, and she was in Chillicothe, Ohio. Really tiny little Chillicothe.
Little Chillicothe.
And she just owned Chillicothe. Like, I mean, she was it when it came to real estate in Chillicothe. I think she sold like over 50% of the houses in Chillicothe.
No
she just
way.
owned the whole place. She didn't need
Wow.
us, but she had enough money to go, I'll give you guys a shot.
Why not?
Right?
Yeah, why not experiment?
So Kyle, I won't say Kyle, who's a genius at this stuff, Kyle built out the entire structure for her campaign, everything, integrated all these different tech, tools, CRM, everything. And in the first year, she made like multiple six figures in profit. And we were like, well, you should, because in real estate, I mean, you make a lot of money. And we were like, that feels like something that should happen. She came back to us and was like, in this industry, that is unheard of. Like, people don't do that in the world of real estate. Real estate ad agencies are well known for like, here's a name, phone number, and email from an opt-in page, and best of luck to you. Right.
Yeah.
And so normally people weren't very successful with that stuff. So she introduced us to her coach, and in the world of real estate, agents love coaches. They basically hire them to be like their best friends. And so there's a million real estate coaches across the US with the 4 million plus real estate agents. And so she introduced us to her coach. In the matter of a couple months, we got another dozen or so real estate agents, started repeating that model for them and started making them a lot of money. And we just went all in on real estate. And that was in 2022.
Okay.
And since then, we've been 100% all in on real estate. And we went from, me and Kyle alone to now we've got, I think, 11 stateside employees and probably another 35, 40, overseas team members. And we're working with hundreds of teams and brokerages and agents across the US. And then the AI piece, a friend of mine who I'd gotten introduced to built this AI conversion platform. He's a hell of an entrepreneur, amazing dude. And I called him up one day and just said, tell me about what you're doing and how I can help. And he just basically told me all of his problems, and I had all the solutions to his problems, and my problem he had the solution to. And so I flew down to Austin, spent a weekend with him and his wife, got to know what they were building and what they were doing and what their goals were. And the next day we drew up a contract, merged it into our business, and now he's our chief growth officer. And that was the origin of Speculo.ai specifically. And that was about a year ago, I would say, in August.
wow.
It was like early. It was like July last year, I'd say, is when like the whole process started. Prior to that, he and I had talked a lot about what we were going to build. So I'd say it's probably about 9 months. And yeah, dude, we've just been growing and scaling ever since.
So started with the agent in Chillicothe.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at now as far as a client base?
Like, how many clients do we have?
How many clients? Where are they at? Give us that
So
demographic.
we have clients. Majority of them are in the US. We have a few in Canada. We have one in Honduras. Like, we have like a few like
really,
like we have clients across the globe, but really it's 95% are in the US and then a few at different spots around the world. But also like real estate in other countries might not be as prominent as it is in the US. So I would say we have probably somewhere around like 170, 175 clients, but agents that actually use our software is probably north of 5,000, something like that.
Are you serious?
5,000?
Yeah. Make that 5,001.
Yeah.
With LNF investment.
Well, and that would be also too. That's agents using it. So like we have some clients. Like we've got one client that we just signed on who has 1,000 agents in his brokerage. So it's like again, like I want to also, like, to your point of those TikTok gurus. Right. I want to make sure I'm bringing it down to earth. Like, our clients are sometimes a brokerage that has 1,000 agents or 250 or 500. And then we also have teams that are 5 or 6 agents, or like our team in Austin, I think, has 7 agents. Right. So it's like, it's sometimes our client might be 175, but we have a lot of agents that use the software.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, dude.
Oh, got it.
I mean, regardless, that's a lot of clients. It's a lot of agents using the software. I mean, obviously you're doing some pretty big epic things. And you know, I've had conversations with people that are familiar with the product, and their word, they said they think that your AI is the cutting edge and the best on the market that you can possibly get.
Well,
so
let's get into that, because we've name dropped the business a couple times now. But tell us what the business is specifically.
So in a nutshell, it's we generate, nurture, and convert leads, aka we generate, nurture, and convert consumers who want to buy or sell real estate and connect them with agents. So in a nutshell, our technology is meant to be the AI assistant in the consumer's pocket to engage with via, natural language search for finding homes or understanding their home's equity and their value in their home. And then they can also call the AI or engage with AI in a voice, and talk and ask questions about their property or ask questions about homes in the market. And then has to be connected to a local realtor if they so wish to. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We just provide tech that is the AI real estate agent in a consumer's pocket, where they're not being sold by anybody until they want to be sold, and they can learn everything they want to know about homes for sale or the value of their current home and talk to an AI about it.
I mean, dude, you just kind of really casually brushed over some of that, when in reality, like, it can do some pretty insane things. Like, the AI it's ridiculous. I mean,
that's pretty.
But like, you're basically dropping qualified leads into a realtor's lap.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of our journey, in the middle of starting the agency and merging everything with Bobby, we also owned a brokerage for a quick second. We owned a brokerage with about 150 agents in it.
Oh, did you really?
And yeah, so when we owned that brokerage as part of a franchise with KW, so it was a franchise inside of the KW ecosystem, and about 150 agents. And during that time, I learned probably the most valuable lesson that allowed me to create what we created with Bobby, which was like a lot of, and this as an agent working with other brokerages, like a lot of team leaders or leaders inside of brokerages will, the norm is they will provide leads to their agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they will lose sleep or get frustrated or bang their head against a wall trying to get agents to follow up those leads. But what I realized very quickly by owning a brokerage myself and leading a team was, people get into real estate to buy and sell properties with consumers, not to call 400 people a day.
Facts.
Correct.
Facts.
And so you have to do it. It's part of the game.
Part of the business. Yeah.
But technology, resources, innovation allow us to not have to do that. And so like I kind of shifted my perspective. And, now when I talk to a rainmaker or a team leader or a brokerage owner, I'm like, man, you got to take some accountability here and quit bitching about your agents and instead take some accountability and run a team that provides leverage for them to not have to do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was that was really what we're trying to create as an ecosystem where agents can do what they signed up to do, go buy or sell properties and provide a really high quality experience for consumers. And we take care of all the stuff in the background and create leverage for consumers. We don't care about the agent. I don't give a shit about the agent's experience with our tech. Their job is to wait for their phone to ring with an agent who wants to talk to them about buying or selling a house.
Right.
My job is to create tech that provides value to the consumer and nurtures them and educates them until they're ready to talk to a professional. And so that's really the big picture.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good business. So like, I mean, and dude, like real estate, there's just such a need for it.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, there's like knowing from experience, there's just so many like crap leads that come in to these brokerages that get trickled down and then agents get upset. And so it's like being able to qualify them is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, and I would also say like my perspective, and I know what you mean when you say crap leads, but like I look at it as it's a person who is doing what they should do. Like every consumer, like think about it this way, the buying a book or buying a phone or buying a pair of shoes or your nice watch or whatever, like that's not a hard decision to make. Like I can get hit with a Facebook ad after a couple beers and I'll buy something. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I just did that the other day. I bought one of those Fi collars for my dog that why, right? Like I want to know my dog's heart rate. Like who gives a shit? But like I bought it because I was out with my fiance and had a couple beers. We just got a puppy and we're like, shit, we need to make sure she's healthy all the time. So we bought it, right?
Buy the collar.
Yeah, exactly.
You're never going to get it.
So we bought it, but it's like, that was $100 or I don't even know. It was like something like that, right?
Right.
$100. That is, that can be a good lead, a bad lead, whatever. But we're talking about people making the biggest investment of their life. Like we're talking about, in some residential real estate markets, the minimum home price is over $1 million.
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah.
It's unbelievable the investment people are making.
Yeah.
So to me, again, it just goes back to like, why don't we make the consumer the one that's important, not the agent? So like that, I really got to a point where I was like, I couldn't care less about the agent's experience with anything I do because I know what they want is a real consumer that they can help invest in real estate or sell their piece of real estate.
Yeah.
So I just took over the rest of it and said, well, why don't we give consumers what they want, which is access to information that isn't, leading to a sales call. Cause that was the problem. The relationship was broken. Like, again, it's just a huge transaction. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like you're forcing people to opt in on a landing page, connecting them with an agent. The agent's going, are you ready to buy a house or what? And then they say, oh, well, I'm just not sure yet. I'm 6 months out. I'm 12 months out. I just really want to start looking. And then the agent goes, oh, this is a crap lead. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's a person who needs to be educated on something. Like take that out of the agent.
That's what upsets me. Cause I'm like, dude, their timeline is your timeline. Like that's what I tell all my clients. You want to buy in a year? I'll be here in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
When I say crap leads, I mean by people submitting that their name is Donald Trump.
Yeah,
they put 555.
But also, they do that shit because they know they're gonna get a phone call from somebody trying to sell them a house. Right?
Yeah, very true.
That was just always my mentality, man. It's like if you just give everybody what they want, right? You just look at the marketplace you're building, and you give both people what they want. They're gonna meet in the middle, and it's just like whoever the consumer owns the relationship, not the agent.
And dude,
that's that, and nobody looks at it like it. Like that. So like you're sales. A trailblazer for that.
That's sales.
That's huge.
Right. That's everything. That's business in general. The person that you want to pay you something owns the relationship.
Right? And dude, what also a good business model, because I feel like the TAM is so huge, like the total addressable market, like the market that you can service is so huge. I mean, everybody's buying and selling property all across the country.
Yeah.
7 days a week.
All across the country. And there's how many there's 4,000 realtors in Dayton.
Yeah. Right.
Let alone
literally
across the country.
Literally.
Like Denver, Colorado.
So,
insane.
I mean, you have such a huge market and a gap in the market that you can provide solutions to. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So the sky being the limit, what is the ultimate end goal for Speculo? Like what is
for the company?
For Riley,
you
for
and the company.
however you define that,
Yeah.
like what's big picture
Or
end
hit
goal,
both. Hit
or both.
Riley,
Yeah.
The big picture for the company is I just want to, I have like numbers on it, right? Like I think there's numbers we want to put behind it, but ultimately what we want to create with Speculo is really, if I'm looking at the real goal, I'll say it here publicly, that I'm going for Zillow's throat. Like I think that Zillow is a model that is I think that there's things about Zillow that need to change, and I want to build kind of the Robin Hood of that model, right? Like I want to create an environment where consumers are connected with agents in their local market, and agents can cultivate a relationship where they're not going back, consume. And again, I'm going to get really deep on that. But my point is that I want to create an ecosystem where consumers have control over the things that they're looking for and the data that they're gathering and what they need to make a decision. And then they're connected to the best local agent where they can cultivate a relationship.
And not
only for this transaction, but for the future and for their family and their kids. And like there's agents even in Oakwood, like a guy we used to carry for, his name's King Merritt. You remember King?
I remember King, yeah.
Like King's been the top realtor in Oakwood for forever, and I guarantee you none of his leads come from Zillow. They're probably just relationships he's cultivated over years. Just sold my grandma's house, you know what I mean? Like it's just years and decades of relationships, and I want to build technology for the future and build a platform that is Speculo.ai, where that can be the magnet of the relationship for consumers and real estate agents of the future, because of the prominence around the transaction for a consumer. Buying or selling a house is the biggest decision the average consumer is ever going to make.
Totally.
How do we create a platform that puts them in control, not the agent or some third party?
Fantastic.
Well, and real quick, talking to the audience here, this is giving you some kind of perspective on how big of a company and the big things that Riley is actually doing and building, to be able to sit here and say, I'm coming for Zillow's throat. Like Zillow is Goliath. And to even have a remote, like, be in the ballpark to affect them at all means that you're doing some epic stuff.
We'll see if it works. I think it will. I hope
it
will.
Yeah. So I mean that's the kind of sandbox that Riley's playing in.
I hope so.
The company that he's building. I mean that is so
we're Team
impressive.
Riley. We're Team Speculo. So Team Riley, so that's Speculo. I mean, is Speculo your end all be all, or what's like Riley's vision, long-term vision?
I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Like I want to keep building those environments. To me, like, I mean, a business is an environment. It's a living organism. It's an ecosystem where people, come to play and engage and, build.
Yeah.
So I want to keep doing that. I have a personal prediction that I think that the future of startups with tech is so fast, and the ability for, so like, I'll give you an example, like our product, our engineers tripled our code base. And what that means is basically we took a collection of code that is our product and tripled it in about a month and a half using AI coding agents. And that would have taken our developers probably 5 years to do traditionally. And so like for us to be able to have done that so quickly, like that showed me like the world of startups, and especially tech startups, is going to move so quickly that my prediction is the next version of like a VC fund or like an incubator is going to be kind of a flipped relationship. And what I want to do is create that ecosystem for a lot of startups that are going to impact, society in a positive way. So like one that I'm really passionate about that I'm working on with a friend of mine is an AI knowledge base that provides access for like economic development agencies for renewable energy policy. So like there's employees at a lot of economic development agencies, like in Columbus, it's called One Columbus. There's one in Marion County, that's Marion Can Do, around Ohio. Like their goal is to create policies that bring in large industrial businesses that adopt renewable energy, right? But for them to figure out those policies, they have to go look at government websites. And I can speak from experience that sometimes the policies are a picture of a sticky note written in like literal, like written by hand. Like it's so disorganized.
Wow.
It's so just like the policies are outstanding, but if it's just a limited access to information. And so like traditionally that's human beings that have to be employed, that have to go be a part of something. But like my vision is that somebody with a grand idea like that or experience like that, they would have to go take multiple years to go build something like that. Or somebody can create an incubator, a VC fund, where you flip the script, give them whatever money is required to start that up, plus, you know, the one developer that knows how to use an AI coding agent that can develop the product in a couple months. And then 15 months from now, go sell it for 9 figures to some bigger organization or some PE fund that wants to control the product.
Yeah.
And make sure that the outcome is still occurring, but turn, you know, founders into millionaires in 15 to 18 months, and then reinvest that money into this incubator that continues to find world changing positive impact startups that can be built and sold to somebody that can make them even bigger in 15 to 18 months.
Wow.
And I think that is going, what I want is to build that environment to attract those really talented founders that understand the speed and understand that the value proposition of what I'm trying to create is an ecosystem where they can build it, but also sell it to somebody that can take it a lot farther. Because I do also think that whether it's a positive or negative reality from, you know, the viewer's perspective, like, tech is going to enable those big monopolistic organizations to continue being big.
For sure.
And I don't think that's a bad thing, as long as those organizations adopt the products and use them correctly.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to create the products that get the consumer's attention and build the brand.
Right.
To the place where if they want to buy it because we have the consumer's attention, well, they have to keep the brand, they have to keep the mission. And so how do we like infuse positive stuff into those big organizations that are never going to let this company turn into a $1 billion company that competes with them? Well, you build something, get consumers' attention, create a positive impact, and then go sell it to somebody that maintains that positive impact but makes it bigger.
That makes sense. And I feel like that's almost creating a solution, because I feel like one of the rubs with PE is people, like, they just kind of have a bad rap of like coming in and, you know,
corporatized.
And just like strip company down for parts, just fire people.
Exactly.
Nobody answers the phones anymore.
Right. And I really like the idea of like creating a brand that they have to keep intact to be able to grow. I think that's really cool. So
I feel like it's the only way to create a positive impact. I mean, if you really think about it, like, there is that point. There's the point of no return where, I mean, they're just so big. Like, there's just no way to like take it over. So why not just control the consumer sentiment and then infuse that into those organizations? Because at the end of the day, they're there to make money. They don't care if it's good, bad, or indifferent. They want something that's going to make them money. So if you can create an ecosystem that makes money in a positive, positive influence way, then you know, give it to them and they can make it bigger.
And dude, I feel like venture capital is so rewarding from your perspective too, of like, not only are you're going to make good money off of that stuff, but be able to just see the impact that you're going to have on not only the entrepreneurs, and honestly creating something that could possibly be life-changing for them, but also, you know, what you're doing on a more macro scale as well. I mean, that's super cool. That's very cool.
You're up to a lot, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's the type of stuff that just gets me so excited. Like, I don't know. That's awesome.
I think it's where I think it's where the future is going, and I'm watching it happen right now. And I'm fortunate and blessed enough to be like in the middle of watching the change of what a startup can do. Like, it's just unbelievable to me how a startup can create a product, get market fit, and start generating revenue so fast because of the access to cheap leverage that AI provides us, and just general tech. I mean, obviously
100%.
AI has evolved so quickly, but in general, just like what people can create nowadays compared to what it was before. I just want to enable that, because it's just like, just watching, and the other thing, again, to bring it down to earth, like, I'm not the one coding that shit. Like, I don't even know. I watch these geniuses do it, and I'm like, man, like what they can create and so quickly. It's just like, my God, if I can just play a role of just creating an environment and giving resources to people that can go do that shit. Like, oh my God. Like, then I feel like I've created a positive impact, not only of that person, but also what they're creating. So it's just that like ripple effect of just, again, creating that environment for people.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that we are sitting in a unique window to where, because obviously AI and utilizing AI for, you know, now that it's been released for, you know, the public consumption, et cetera, do you think that we are in a unique window of where, like you were saying, that you're getting such almost like cheap labor rates and leverage utilizing AI, that we're sitting in this time frame of this is kind of the golden age of this. And then as things progress, if you don't hop on the train, maybe, and I could be totally in left field, maybe there's more regulation, maybe there's more costs added to it, et cetera. Do you think that we're kind of in this window where we're at the forefront of AI, and if you don't act now, you could kind of get left behind to where you can't get the outsized returns that you could now, that you could maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
I think if you look at it from a money perspective, that's a somewhat accurate position. But I think if you look at it from like an impact perspective, we're just getting started. Like, I think that AI is only going to get cheaper. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think that AI is going to get more expensive. There's no reason for it to get more expensive. It's going to get cheaper. And also you look at the people who are leading the charge with AI. Like, I mean, you look at some of these products that are getting launched, like the goal is free access to information and leverage, right? I mean, obviously there's always going to be monetization methods and all that kind of stuff. But I would say from a money perspective, I think it's just like any other cash grab, right? Like, you know, you look at like the gold rush, the guys that made all the money were not the ones that were mining for gold. It was the people that gave them the pickaxe, right? And it's like, what I'm really focused on again is just creating the environment, creating the resources for other startups and other founders to go create stuff. But I think that the window of opportunity with AI is going to be longer than maybe what we think, but I do think that there will, at one point, with how fast AI can move, and again, this is like very like, you know, could be totally wrong, but I think we're in that shift where nobody really knows, like, with how fast it can move, like, it begs the question of when is there not going to be any more original ideas? When is there not going to be any more need for a startup, a service? I think we're going to get much closer to one of the trends I'm finding right now and what I'm seeing, and that's why I'm building into that renewable energy startup I was talking about. Like, the biggest trend with AI I'm seeing right now is taking the large language models and turning them into shells. So like, large language models have access to everything. You go to DeepSeek, OpenAI, any of they just have a ton of information that they can pull from on anything, but they're not experts.
Right.
So like, you can go ask a renewable energy policy question to ChatGPT right now, and it's going to spit you back a pretty general answer that's more accurate than you could get in almost any other scenario, and 10 times, 100 times faster.
Yeah.
But if you can create a specific knowledge base that has specific information and it can pull from very unique subsets of data around one topic, and then it's curated to answer questions and suggest outcomes based off that one niche, that's the biggest trend I'm seeing right now with AI.
So the depth aspect.
Yeah, well, it's like there's another startup that a friend of mine is investing in, where it's an engineering procurement regulation GPT. So like, all the information for like these huge big regulations, because I mean, think about engineering, right? Like, if a bolt isn't made right on a CNC machine, like, you could kill 1,000 people if the car, you know, so that's what the callbacks are, right? You look at cars or anything like that, they have those callbacks because something wasn't engineered correctly, right?
Right.
And so what they're doing is they're trying to protect from companies losing a lot of money from callbacks, but also, you know, putting people's lives in danger, or you know, people who are doing things in danger. And the way they're doing that is by creating a GPT that's very specific from a knowledge base around the company's regulations that employees who are developing things need to follow. So again, traditionally, it's this huge knowledge base that somebody has to go into like a website and search things and then dig and then find, and 2 hours later they find this specific piece of information they're looking for, versus a GPT.
It just fishes it right
It's there in 30 seconds.
I'm building a mold for this new product we're developing, and I just need to make sure that, you know, it fits this regulation and that X, Y, and Z is this or what. I mean, again, I don't know a lot about engineering, so I can't really speak the language.
No,
I
for
sound
sure.
like an idiot.
Yeah.
But the point is that they're asking whatever question they need,
Yeah.
and seconds go by, maybe a minute, and they get exactly what they're looking for. So it increases the speed and it controls the quality. You wouldn't be able to do that from a GPT like OpenAI, or from, you know, Gemini, or from DeepSeek or something like that, because it's just general knowledge. It's not that company's knowledge.
Yeah.
So that's those shells that I'm seeing people build right now.
Yeah.
Those are going to run out. You know what I mean? Like, there's only
so much that you can do. Yeah. For
so
sure.
then from there, the question becomes, well, what's the next iteration? So there's a very long answer to your question of like, I think that AI is going to lead us down a path where it's only going to get less expensive and it's going to make everybody's lives easier. But I do think it does beg the question of when is there not going to be any more original ideas that somebody can monetize?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That
No,
is.
I don't have the brain to comprehend this stuff. I'm
No,
trying.
I mean it's super interesting, and throughout the process, I'm also thinking of how it's amazing how what just simply starting a marketing ad agency
Mm-hmm.
now leads to this.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it, to go all the way back of remaining consistent, the doors and opportunities that present
Being
themselves
committed, yeah.
just because you're committed and you're consistent and you stay in the game. And when you stay in the game, you meet new people, you gain new experiences, you see new opportunities. And man, who would have thought that we go from, starting an ad agency in Dayton, Ohio, to now we have clients all over the globe and at the forefront of cutting edge of, tech and AI and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So, question. So it's moving rapidly. You're obviously getting in the tech space, all that kind of stuff. Do you ever see yourself moving to the Bay Area or Austin, or are you a Columbus guy?
I mean, I think like home base is Columbus. I love it here. My my family lives in Dayton. Taylor's family, my fiance Taylor, her family lives up in like the Cleveland, like Akron
Okay,
area. So
yeah.
I mean, it's a good little home base. I
Between.
think. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see.
Wherever it takes you, wherever the
think-
opportunity is, right?
I do think that Columbus is one of the emerging tech cities right now. There's a lot of growth in Columbus around new startups and tech. And
Really?
yeah, I mean, dude, like the dude that started Oracle, for some reason his name, I'm missing his name, Larry Ellison,
Yeah,
I think is his
yeah,
name. Who started Oracle. He just finalized a deal to build this campus called Arsenal One. It's like 15 minutes south of my house in Columbus. And it is I think, don't quote me on this, but I believe it's the world's first autonomous weapon making facility. And so it's like stuff like that, dude. Like it's just like there are just so much startups and tech and all this stuff is coming
Columbus
to
is
Columbus.
booming.
You got Intel on the north side
Yeah,
of northeast
yeah,
side of Columbus.
yeah.
Like where I live is smack dab in the middle between what Intel is doing about 10 minutes north of me, and then this Arsenal One campus is about 15 minutes south of me.
Yeah.
And so I look at Columbus and I think it's, I think it's just getting started in terms of what it's going to be and where it's going to go. So my short-term perspective is, I want to be in Columbus long-term. I got a lot of friends and family there, but
Totally.
I don't know. We'll see where life takes us and what's going to happen.
I didn't realize that Columbus was, I knew that it was exploding in general, but I didn't know that the tech scene was exploding. So do you think that Columbus 5-10 years down the road is now in the conversations of the Austin, Texases? Like, do you think it's to that magnitude?
I think so. I mean, but I would also say in general, like just the spread of leverage. There's like our front end developer, our coder, she lives in the Philippines. And she's unbelievable. Like, I mean, she is one of the most talented people I've ever met. All of our states. I mean, she's smarter than I am. And like, she's just amazing. And the point is not that she lives in the Philippines. The point is that all over the world, there's so much leverage with technology and AI and resources that, like, I don't know, man, it could be maybe the Philippines is
That's what I was going to say.
Maybe, it doesn't matter. It could be, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Like, I don't know. Dude.
I don't
Like,
think
it
you
could
have to be in a
anything.
Silicon Valley anymore
Exactly.
to be an emerging tech company.
Yeah.
Because it's just so available.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think
true.
I think Columbus is growing, and I think there's a lot of money there, and I think that there's a lot of really smart people who are building the local economy in Columbus and driving a lot of big industrial businesses there. But I also just think, man, the spread of leverage to create very wealthy and valuable companies and just influences and movements is it's so robust right now that it just doesn't matter. Anybody, any state, any city could pop off out of nowhere and become the next spot.
100%.
Which, I mean, that's also kind of exciting in and of itself.
Yeah, 100%.
That's really cool.
It's just a lot more open ended.
Yeah, a lot of balance of power happening.
Yeah. So as we kind of wrap things up, what's some advice you got for entrepreneurs? Maybe somebody looking to get started where you're at right now, or just kind of word from the wise.
I don't know if I'm there yet to give word for the wise yet. I would say that going back to the beginning, dude, like it's just, I think that there's a lot of romanticizing of entrepreneurship and more than anything that I see is there's a lot of romanticizing of the grind. Like you hear all these people with these quotes about, find, joy in the suffering and
Mm-hmm.
all these really like deep statements that just make you feel like, holy shit, like if I don't feel like that, then I must not be on the right path. Like my piece of advice is just do it. Like, I don't know. I just like, maybe I'm wrong.
Just take what comes and just get through.
Maybe I'm not like giving the answer that's going to get, attention or views or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, I just look at it, man, just like get shit done, just take action, just move, make it happen.
Just
like,
put your head down and just blow through the walls.
And you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, I can speak from experience that I started a marketing agency just like every other person on TikTok right now is starting a market. Like, it's not like what I started was not this earth changing, groundbreaking thing. Like, you look at people who are creating startups that are like I read an article the other day on what's it called? Wall Street Journal. It's like some 13-year-old who created a startup, went on to Shark Tank, got like a $40 million investment.
Are you serious?
He's like 13 years old. It's like that type of shit. Like that dude can give you a wise answer once he gets to 27. Like, that's unbelievable. Like, my testament to my success is get shit done, dude. Take action, stay committed, and just take action. Get it done. Because that's my number one thing is just, I heard somebody say this the other day, earn your sunset. Just like every day, just like get shit done and move and groove and just like take action, and you're going to be just fine.
Earn your
sunset.
Yeah.
Dude, I like that. Earn
I
your
like
sunset.
That a lot. Yeah. That was good, man.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
So that's my advice, especially for people getting started, let alone people who are in it, but people getting started for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we hop, like where can the people find you? Like, do you have socials that you want to promote, or the website?
Your dog's social page?
Yeah. I don't have social media, but my dog does. But our company has social.
Okay.
The Speculo.ai website, Speculo.ai. If anybody wants to learn about what we do, you can go to the website, and there's an AI on the website where you just on the homepage, you just hit a play button, and she'll just say, "Who am I talking to?" And you'll say, "Oh, this is Riley." And she'll say, "What do you want to know?" And then you just answer. She'll just talk to you and tell you what we do. So if you want to learn more that way, just go to Speculo.ai. That's the website. And then, like I said, go follow my dog's Instagram. It's Ace the Woolly Husky.
Well, you do have social. You're on LinkedIn, Riley VanderKaay. If you can call that a social media. It's like hardly.
But
I get it.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Good combo. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, it's just awesome.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, fellas. Well, it was fun, and we will catch you next week.
Maybe
we got one next week. We'll catch you next week.
Peace.